It was in that moment that Natalie realized maybe doing research before starting your final project is actually helpful. Hello everyone, and welcome to my final project for the class, Human Communication in a Technological Age. My name is Natalie Rodriguez, and throughout this process of doing a leisure project, I've learned something that I've always wanted to do, that being crocheting. So I hope you enjoy this process, and this video is already way longer than it should, so let's jump to me in the past. Welcome to the history section of today's video. Before we begin, if you're thinking, well, why do we even have to talk about history? Can't you just crochet? You are the problem. And you are also me, and I'm recording this in the future because you messed up pretty bad. So before we get hooked into crocheting, let's discuss what we're actually going to be talking about. I don't want to bore you to death, so we're going to talk about some of the historical background, conversation, and the communities within them. If you Google, what is the history of crochet, you're going to get about 1 million different answers. Pretty much every region from parts of Asia, Europe, Africa, and South America have all claimed to have been the inventors of crochet. However, their uses were very different. Some wives of farmers in Europe claimed to have invented crochet because they were so bored they had to figure out a way to pass the time, while other cultures used it to make garments, blankets, and things of that nature. All of this was also not the same method of crochet until 1829, when
Mademoiselle Riego de la Branchardière.
Thank you. Whenever she became the first person to actually publish a book on crocheting. There had been patterns beforehand, but she is commonly known as the mother of modern crochet. Now, on to the American side of things. During World War I and World War II, people used crocheting as a way of saving supplies, but it wasn't as common as some people may think. However, in the 1960s, crochet boomed. The bright colors and funky nature of granny squares made it natural to fit with the decade. People could make everything from overalls to vests to blankets, and look at that guy on the right. The men and the women loved crochet, and that is still a very common trend in today's age. Things can be funky, things can be cool, and things are always French. That was a weird transition. The word crochet comes from the French word croche, which means tiny hook, and that describes the method of how people crochet. They use a tiny hook and yarn, and there are different sizes depending on how big or small you want your project. Some of the hooks can be as small as 0.01 millimeters, and it can go all the way up to, I think, 15 millimeters with some of the ones I saw on Amazon, but this is a very wide range. And because the range is so wide, I wasn't sure where to start. So I started the natural place with some of the smartest people in the world, Facebook. I joined many Facebook groups because I simply didn't know where to start, and they kind of helped. Many of them said to get a starter kit on Amazon, but some of them were a little too welcoming. When I didn't know where to start, they just said, start wherever, and then I ended up messing up halfway through and having to buy new yarn because I didn't know there was beginner yarn, but it was really cool to see the communities and what people were making, and I still stock them every once in a while because it's great for ideas for new projects. Speaking of projects, I was able to make some pretty cool things, like this blob. I made that blob. In all seriousness, there was one day when I was wearing a shirt, and I thought, you know what would be really cool with this shirt? A choker. So I just made a choker. I can do that now. I learned how to switch colors and use the smaller yarn to where I could make pretty much whatever I wanted within my skill level at first. And that's the thing. In the final analysis, it's about learning a skill that you can actually use to help your friends. All of my friends are now going to get crocheted Christmas presents, which should save me money and give me something to do because it's almost summer and I don't want to have to learn how to ride a bike. But in 20 years, am I going to remember the essay I wrote for my rhetoric, religion, and society class? Yes, Dr. Walks. Of course I will, and of course I have definitely started. In all seriousness, I feel like I have talked way too much in just this section, and people want to see me crochet, or at least attempt to. So without any further ado, Transition! Now over to myself from the...
Hello again, this is me circa early to mid-February of 2024. One thing that I had to cut out from the beginning of this video is me not knowing how to tie a slip knot. It took about an hour for me to actually get started with the project itself. And at this point, I had had about 3 different tutorials showing me how to do it with different kind of methods and styles. And I feel like this audio quality is not the best. I'm going to try to talk as little as possible, but sometimes that's really hard for me. Additionally, a note to any person I've ever interacted with, I didn't realize I made so many facial expressions until this process, so my bad. I'm going to jump in and out throughout the video, but enjoy some classical music because it's in the public domain and the only thing I knew how to download. Just wanted to jump in and say the whole process wasn't all bad because moments like this are really awesome. I'm going to keep the audio and everything from the original clip because I got really excited.
Then you're going to rotate it down and you're going to pull it back through the loop. Now rotate up. You're going to grab the yarn with the hook facing up, rotate down, pull back through the hole. Now my tension's too tight, that's why it's getting stuck. So try to keep this, you're gonna have to practice the tension. It's gonna be the hardest part of this project.
Yo, crochet.
So we are gonna grab the yarn with the hook facing up.
Oh, I'm so good at this.
Rotate
I am the
down,
crochet master.
And then pull.
To be honest, that night I decided to quit while I was ahead and come back the next day to make 0 progress. But that's okay, because you can listen to some more awesome Mozart. At this point, I encountered a lot of challenges with my yarn. I had bought an Amazon starter pack, but the yarn wasn't the best quality, so every time my hook would try to wrap around it, it would cut through it, and that was bad and caused many problems. For this section of the video, I just wanted to brag that I could crochet on a plane. Our debate nationals were in Phoenix, Arizona, so we got to fly from Pittsburgh to Phoenix, and I got to crochet on a plane. I got to join the Mile High Club of people who crochet. That was a really bad joke. A really bad joke, but I'm editing this late at night and this makes me laugh, so enjoy. If I learned nothing else from Human Comm, it was the importance of culture and Team Human. And one thing I learned about college culture is that everyone sits in their room alone on St. Patty's Day. At least if there are any parties, I weren't invited to them. So here I am on St. Patrick's Day, embracing the holiday and continuing to crochet. And again, I haven't made any progress since that first day, but this is the time I realize maybe whenever I look up how to crochet for beginners, I can also look up crochet supplies, so then I'll hit the realization that if I get new yarn, I can actually start making progress. So yay, St. Patty's Day! Wow, that was fast. Anyway, now you can see me with the newer yarn for beginners, which is basically thicker and has a coating around it so it prevents fraying. And this is where I actually started to make a lot of progress and actually started to enjoy crocheting more because I was getting less frustrated with myself and the yarn. Okay, I'll go back to crocheting, and crocheting on the next day, and crocheting on the day after that, and you get the point. Here's my dog, Pete. Say hi to Pete. Yeah, he left. Here's Sadie. Say hi to Sadie. here is the last clip because, to be honest, I didn't feel like filming myself after that. But thank you for coming across this journey. And now over to me in the future again. Well, I guess the past because I'm recording this in the future. Now over to myself to give a conclusion about what I learned. Here it is, a combination of everything that I've made throughout this video. I know it's not much, but it took me a really long time to actually figure out the skills. If you're wondering where the orange yarn that I started with went, as soon as I went to grab it, it completely unraveled, because sometimes life is like crochet. If you don't like it, you can just continue on and keep becoming a new project. Yeah, that analogy is kind of lost. But essentially, thank you so much for joining with me on this process. It was really cool to actually learn and be able to make things. I know my works aren't perfect, but I'm getting there, I'm making progress, and I'm so excited to make more things with the people I love.
Happy birthday!
This isn't gonna be done. It's for my final project.
I know that he'll know it was his birthday on this day.
Oh, this is so exciting. Crocheting isn't so bad. Oh no, never mind. Maybe it is so bad. Maybe I'm just really challenged at crochet, but that's okay, because oh, this is so exciting. Brow, 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 brow. Oh, I'm recording. This is terrible. This is also very unnatural.